Hell, you could say that 10,000 times and it still wouldn't be enough.
It fires me up, man.
I love it. Say it one more time.
Shake it back!
Does that feel good?
Yeah, it rhymes. They're both verbs.
Moving on to the favorite of the division, one of the favorites in the conference, one of the favorites in the NFL. We have Mr. Looks Good in Shorts himself and Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. What's going on with the Buffalo Bills? Squad.
This is the most talented team in football. I don't think it's close.
I think I have some. I don't agree.
Okay.
I do think it's the most. I think it's the best team in the division.
Yeah,
but you want to talk? We're talking. We're talking about on paper. There's about 3 teams in the AFC West that I can argue.
I could see arguing the Chargers. I mean, on paper, I don't think the Chiefs got them or the Broncos.
I wasn't going to say the Chiefs. I like them. We'll talk about them next week.
Okay. We'll save that talk for next week.
Silver and black, baby.
The 1 weak spot is on their O-line, Cody Ford, who is a player who's been around for a few years. He had it down here last year, but I mean, I don't expect it to stick that way. Or they just replaced him with Ryan Bates, who they just signed up to an offer sheet after the Bears tried to sign him. I mean, that was a solid contract. I wouldn't be surprised if he's getting put in there as a replacement for Ford. But Dawson Knox is an okay tight end, really good blocker, tough player, but he's the one other guy on offense that you're not saying that guy's good. You're saying that guy's solid.
Kessenberry and Saffold, I like both of them a lot.
Mm-hmm. The upgrades that they made to their O-line is one of the big reasons I say they're one of the most talented teams in the NFL.
Well, I'll give you one of.
I think they're the most, but it's up for debate. On defense, they got Von Miller. He's going to play situationally on a disgustingly massive contract. They've gone all in on Josh Allen this year, and I love it. I just love it.
You have to go. I mean, why would you not?
Dude, their D-line runs like 8 players deep. They've used like 3 first and second round picks on D-line in the last 2 years. And then they went and signed Von Miller too. Like they have so many guys. I don't know what they're going to do with all these guys.
Yeah, and they still have Tre'Davious White, one of the best young corners in the league.
Yeah.
They still got
Kyrie Elam. Jordan Poyer. This is just a squad.
Edmonds. Yeah.
Now, Terrell Edmonds is a bit of a question mark. He has struggled the last year or two, but Matt Milano next to him hasn't. Matt Milano has been an outstanding coverage player for years now.
One thing that's not getting talked about enough is going to get Matt Araiza out of San Diego State, boy.
The punt
god. People are like, he was the third punter taken. Bears passed on him like a bunch of imbeciles just because he punts the ball too far. It's his job.
Never work in Chicago.
And they were like, "Oh, you can't cover his punts because he punts too far." Well, he was also the most accurate in college too, and had the most common corners in college history.
In Chicago, you only get one football. And if he punts it into the lake, you're done. It would never work.
Never work. Why 2 other teams took punters in front of this guy because he punts the ball too far? I mean, I want to talk to their GM because if you're going to draft a punter and your reasoning for passing on one punter for another punter is that he punts the ball too far, even though he had the most pin punts inside the 20 in college football history, and at the same time having the longest average punt in college football history. And the least amount of return yards in college football history against him compared to the length of his punts, like net yards. And you're like, nah, he punts the ball too far. Like, I know they could cover him in college, but like once you get like NFL players guarding these returners,
who passed on him?
The Bears?
No, the Bears took their guy in the 7th round.
There was 2 punters taken before him.
Yeah, the Bears took their guy in like the 200s. He was pick 180.
180. I'm almost positive.
I mean, there definitely might have been a team who took a punter before him, but it wasn't the Bears.
Are you sure?
100% sure. I wrote that article about that pick. It was 200s.
Okay. Well, I know there's 2 punters taken before him, so I'll let the Bears off the hook.
There were a lot of
It
punters
was
in
the
this
third
draft,
punter.
so I wouldn't be shocked. I mean,
But-
they shouldn't have gone before, but I mean,
Well,
he's the
we're
reason
talking-
why they're the most talented team in football. Matt Arisa,
Yeah.
right there.
Absolutely. But I mean, still have Stephon Diggs, older brother. Most people probably know him as the older brother of Trevon Diggs, best cornerback. in
The
the league.
uncle of what's his name? The Trevon Diggs kid. That's his uncle.
Oh yeah, Shorty Diggs.
They added Jameson Crowder this offseason, which I think was a nice pickup for them. Got at wide receiver, play the slot. Got Khalil Shakir, another nice slot addition. So they run 2 deep in the slot now, and they got Dalvin's younger brother James Cook
I love
to
James
add
Cook.
to Zach Moss and Devin Singletary. That running back room is a bunch of stallions now.
I think Zach Moss is out the door in this place. I think it's
Yeah,
Devin
it
Singletary
probably
and
is.
James Cook immediately. I think they wanted so badly for Zach Moss to work out, and I don't think it's going to work out. He was great. He was great at Memphis, great in college. He ain't going to work out in Buffalo. I think this is James Cook's job the day he steps in the door, and Devin Singletary is now back to. So whenever they drafted Zach Moss, I think they wanted Devin Singletary to be their change of pace back, and he could just never do it. So he had to be their bell cow. But
They
James
tried
Cook-
so hard. They tried so hard to make Zach Moss work, and I had Devin Singletary in fantasy, and I was just like, "You fools, stop it!"
So I think James Cook is going to be their bell cow, and Devin Singletary will be the guy they drafted him to be, which is going to be a change of pace, third down type of guy. He's very good. He's a good situational player. He intercepts down and distance. He's always in a spot to succeed. But he's not the stallion that James Cook is. James Cook is unbelievable. I think if he would have got more touches in college, he could have been fringe first running back off the board type of guy. He didn't get the touches he deserved at Georgia, but it's hard to do at Georgia with that much talent everywhere over the field. So I like James Cook a lot in this offense.
Dude, this D line: Von Miller, Daquan Jones, Ed Oliver, Greg Rousseau. They brought back Shaq Lawson. Who was the kid out of Penn State from 2 years ago? Or maybe it was last year.
Miles Sanders.
No, the hyphenated name. The edge rusher. He was the one who got in trouble with Parsons. Second round pick. He was a first round talent. They've got him on the bench, just waiting to get in the
Everybody got in
rotation.
trouble with Parsons.
So this D line is running 6-7 deep.
Yeah, I mean,
It's going to be filthy.
Gregory Rousseau is a guy who should have never fell to him last year. Ed Oliver was a guy that everybody thought he was going to be a top 3 guy. And just because he got in a fight with his coach on the sidelines about wearing a jacket when it was cold outside, and the coach was like, "No, you don't get to wear a jacket." They thought he had issues. So what, he ended up going like 12 to Buffalo at Oliver?
Yeah, something like that.
Whenever, like, he probably would have been like a top 5 guy pretty easily. Yeah, absolutely ridiculous. And he's been a beast ever since step foot there. Von Miller we've seen Von Miller be situationally good at football last year for the Rams. I mean, the only thing is Buffalo can be a tough place to play, but Buffalo could also be a tough place to play for Buffalo, as we saw in the New England game last year.
Yeah.
Whenever you
definitely.
whenever you have a high flying offense like that, like, and you have a team that can come in and be a bruise it for you, like, ooh. But I think they got a favor opening the season against the Rams. I think they're better than the Rams, and the fact that they have to play them. I think the fact that they have to play them either way, playing them week 1 is a huge gift. But losing Brian Daboll, we'll see how much that affects that offense. I think if they can keep their offense rolling, I think this could be the best team in the NFL. But we just don't really know what Brian Daboll meant to this team until he's gone. And we're going to see what he does in New York with the Giants. But
so they ended up bringing back the QB coach, I believe. They initially were going to let him walk to New York with Dable, and then they got struck by lightning or something. And we're like, why on earth would we do that? And
I think Josh Allen
there
said something to him.
yeah, there was a lot of questions out there when Dable was getting a lot of head coach attention that like the QB coach might have been just as important as Dable.
Yeah.
And we'll find that out this year, obviously. But like retaining him is going to be huge for this offense, I think, because he's the one who had the closest connection with Josh Allen. We'll see if he can call plays.
Yeah.
But
So,
I mean, I think it's definitely a factor coming into this year for them, how much Dable had to do with the offensive success.
So looking at their schedule early in the season, they start out the season with 3 of their first 4 games on the road. So they go to the Rams, open up Thursday Night Football. Then they have the long rest with Tennessee coming in, Derrick Henry coming off surgery. We'll see what the Titans are. I don't know what the Titans are going to be, but that's a very winnable game. I think they win at the Rams. And they have Miami. I think that's a toss-up. And then they have Baltimore, which is a toss-up. Pittsburgh, Kansas City. I mean, they could go to the bye week with a lot of question marks, but like coming out of the bye week, home versus Green Bay, like we don't really know what Green Bay is going to be. That's getting about midway through the season, right before midway through the season. If Aaron Rodgers isn't happy, like, does he just quit halfway through the season?
I hope he tanks the year.
Do we have like?
It would be great.
Or do we truly believe if like the Packers just like start the season absolutely terrible, he wouldn't just be like, I have 3 more years left in me. I'm not going to waste a season with this shit.
I hope so.
Wouldn't surprise me. So let's just assume Aaron Rodgers isn't playing that game. That's a win. Jets are a win. I've given every team in this division a win against the Vikings. So let me be nice to Kirk Cousins real quick and say this is only a close loss for them. But it's still a win for Buffalo. And then Cleveland. Their schedule's pretty tough, but I mean they do have a first place schedule.
It gets real light after the bye there, I feel like.
Yeah,
Jets, Vikings.
Green Bay, Jets, Vikings, Browns, Lions, New England twice, Jets again, Chicago, Cincinnati.
On Christmas Eve, we're going to get a Christmas miracle, and Justin Fields is going to beat the Bills. So just calling my shot now.
Oh, Justin Fields is going to win the MVP.
Hot takes.
But yeah, very solid.
It's a brutal schedule, though. Actually,
brutal schedule.
Looking through
it, I don't like having a bye week that early in the season, especially if you're a Northeast team where you're playing in the cold late in the year. I would rather have the bye later in the year. Do they have any off U.S. soil games? Do they go into Mexico or Germany or?
I don't think so.
Or,
none that I can think of. Afghanistan's a maybe, but aside from that, no.
Yeah, I couldn't remember if they were going off soil anywhere, but yeah. So I mean, they do get the benefit of it. I'm looking at their schedule. I don't know if I'm just like seeing things, but it just seems like they have way too many away games.
Like, I think it's just really spread throughout the year.
They have 2 home games before the bye. Before the bye week, they have 2 home games, and then it's home, away, home, away, away, home, away, home.
8 home, 9 away.
Ugh.
That 17-game schedule messes everything up.
It just looks weird that I'm like, it seems like they have the same amount home as away in the second or after the bye, but before the bye, it's 4-2. So I'm like,
yeah. So on the win total here, I'm tempted on the under.
11.5. Give me the under. If I have to bet it, I'm taking the under. Yeah. Plus 108. I think 11 wins makes the playoffs. I think they could easily drop some games they're not supposed to drop, and
especially early in the year,
win exactly 10 or 11 games. I think they are a playoff team. I think they're one of the best teams in the league. But yeah, I mean, I think it's hard to win 12 games in the NFL, especially with this schedule. I mean, all they have to do is like drop a game to like the Jets or Chicago or Detroit or a Pittsburgh, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, I can definitely see how they can only win 11 games. Like it don't take
Yeah.
much. So
I'm probably going to stay away from it, but I'm tempted by the plus 108 number.
I don't know if I'll actually bet it, but I do. If like I said, if you made me bet it, I would take the under here.
Yeah. And then playoffs, they're minus 490 to get in. Win the division, they're minus 210. I don't see any value there.
My value there. I mean, even AFC champs plus 320. That's not good value there.
I'll probably put a few bucks on them on a future to win the Super Bowl. I always bet a few teams just so I've been able to hedge those teams the last like 3 years, because by the time the Super Bowl comes around, I'm like, I got $5 on the Bills to win the Super Bowl. Bills are in the Super Bowl. I got free money to play with.
For me, for teams like the Bills, I hope that they lose a couple games early. They start out at 1-3, and then I can go jump on them, and their Super Bowl odds change from plus 620 to plus like 1,400, and then I can jump on them.
Okay. See, I won't remember to do that.
I stopped betting Super Bowl futures after probably week 3, but teams like that, like last year, I had the Chiefs were plus 570 before week 1, and then they started out 1-2, and I got them at like plus 2,800.
All right.
Like,
I see the strategy.
Like,
see, I just bet the Rams preseason and then played with it in that game.
Yeah, no. I mean, Rams were about the only team that I wasn't going into the playoffs. They were like the only team that I didn't have a future on, unfortunately.
Yeah. See, I'll usually bet like 3, because if you get over 3, it becomes hard to actually be making money at that point. For me, at least, from what I've noticed. But like 3 is a real sweet spot for me. I'm pretty sure I can get one of the teams for the Super Bowl right if I'm picking 3. And then from there, as long as I get one right, I can play around all over the place to make sure I'm making money.
In the AFC NFC Championship, I bet on the Bengals to win the Super Bowl after they beat the Titans. And I still got them at like plus 10,000 or something ridiculous, because they still had to go through the Chiefs. They had to go through. Who else did they go through?
They had to
go through Buffalo. They beat Buffalo.
The Chiefs beat Buffalo.
Who else did?
They had to go through Tennessee, then
Kansas City.
Was there one in between there?
There had to be, because
there was the Raiders first.
They played the Raiders week 1.
Mm-hmm. Or the wild card round.
So maybe it was the Raiders. I remember when Tennessee. I bet them, because they had to go. Yeah, they would have to go through Tennessee and then Kansas City and then win the Super Bowl. So their odds were still outrageously ridiculous. So going into AFC NFC Championship, the Rams were the only team I didn't have a future on. But they were like plus like 320 to win the Super Bowl, and I was like, oh, I'm not gonna like lay plus 320. Like I don't think they're going to get past the 49ers. And if they do, I don't think they're going to beat the Chiefs. And then the Chiefs lost. And then I'm like, well, they're favorites versus the Bengals. And I was like,
we were just over here banging the table at the Rams are frauds.
They were. That's the worst thing about it is they were frauds. Like, they were fraud. They got hot at the right time. That's all the NFL is, getting hot at the right time. But they were frauds.
Yeah.
100%.
I will say they were more frauds before the Von Miller and Odell Beckham trades.
Yeah. No, I mean, they weren't even trades. They just went and signed with them. So,
yeah.
Odell ended up being pretty good for him, I would say. He's still a free agent. So, Cowboys, if you're listening, don't let the Eagles go sign him, because apparently they sign everybody else that I want to get. So,
building a squad over there in Philly. They just need a quarterback.
Yeah. Fuck. Tell us why we're wrong. Tell us why we're right. Tell us what you think. Let us know. Interact with the boys. And last but not least, don't sleep on the Lions.
Squad.